Debbie, I would love to get your thoughts on this one. So, as a group member is coming to the end of their group, they're trying to discern like whether
Mm-hmm.
repeating is the thing for them.
Yeah.
Maybe it's doing a different material or leading
Mm-hmm.
a group.
Mm-hmm.
How does one discern what is the next best step for them?
Mm-hmm. Well, I usually ask about their sobriety.
Mm.
If they have achieved a high degree of it and they've realized that, oh, you know what, I haven't even thought about acting out in a couple weeks. I think for me in the very beginning, I was like, I haven't thought about it in 2 weeks. And that was like a breakthrough for my brain to go, I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
And so it gave me, it encouraged me to go, okay, I can get free from this. I am free, or I need to keep, I like this feeling. So once you've, sort of tasted that sense of freedom, and you realize, okay, all I did was follow the program. I followed and I was accountable to people. Then you're going, I think I can do this. So moving forward, they might want to think about, okay, how am I doing in this area? And if I have that sense of freedom, where do I go next? And exploring that with the group, like what, sometimes being accountable. Where do you see that sometimes my the way that I discuss a hurt, does that come across angry, or do I just blame myself? So all of those areas that you might want to discuss with the group and get some of their feedback of how they interpret your responses to current hurt and current trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that question of sobriety is a great one, because if we're still battling a pattern of relapse, even if it's become maybe more spread out, it's not as frequent, that's progress, but it may show a need that there's still some deeper work to be done. And I've had a number of people repeat group, and the second time through, they feel like this is different material, because the first time, it's almost like triage care. They're just trying to stop the bleeding and limit the damage and come up with some of their tools. But the second time through, I think they're able to go deeper into their wounds and the false messages that maybe the first time through they were so just wrapped up in changing or stopping the behavior, they haven't been able to go as deep as they could. So I think that's a good mark. If you're still, like I said, in that pattern, repeating group makes a lot of sense. But if conversely you're at a place where you're really able to sustain sobriety, then looking at, well, would I go on to, for men who've done 7 pillars, could I go on to do Compassionate Warrior? If it's a woman who's been doing Unraveled, maybe she looks at doing the Genesis process. There may be other materials that just add to our healing, or that is where we begin to ask the question, God, do you want to use me to help others? Because as we've said, the best group leader is not the one who's trained or an expert leader.
That's right.
The best group leader is just the person who's experienced their own healing and wants to pay it forward and help others as they continue in their own journey. And that's the other thing I would say as well. Leading the material will take your own recovery to another level as well.
Sure does.
Because it's one thing to do it for yourself, and then it's another thing to be going through the group, thinking through that lens of how do I help others. And it actually will help you apply things in your own story. So don't feel like you have to be complete before you could help lead the next group.
Right.
If you've established some sobriety and you have a heart to help others, I'd say consider leading, because it will take you even deeper into your own healing.
Yeah, exactly. I always look at too there, when they consider, I want to co-lead a group next time. Of course, I encourage that. I encourage them to, go for the training that Pure Desire offers, because it's excellent. But then to also consider the time frame that they're in, and if they're married, what is your husband doing? Is he continuing? Each demographic is on a different, sometimes that, like you said, Nick, the first year, they might be going because their wife wants them to go. It's part of the wife's safety plan. And so they aren't as maybe invested until they start learning, oh, this really does help. This really does work. I get to be, there is a freedom. And then they do want to go through it again. And then, so their wife feels more like, I think I'll go through and teach it this time. And then for females that have finished Unraveled, there's a lot of them have gone through Unraveled, or at least part way, that come in for counseling. They realize it's going to be more, their pathway to change and healing is different in that demographic. So it's understanding for the leaders to understand, what demographic am I in, and how can I best work within this, this, and understanding where they are in this healing process. And And do they have the time commitment to do that? And that's what's good about having a co-leader is that, if you're sick one day and I just can't go lead a group of 6 ladies. Oh, you know what? Can I, maybe one of them can take the group, where the next one I'll take alone or something. You can fill in for each other on that. And that's,
yeah. I think this provides a great opportunity when we're talking about discernment of like the Holy Spirit, inviting the Holy Spirit into this conversation, getting wisdom and discernment there. I think if you're married, asking your spouse their thoughts about what are some healthy next steps. Your group leader, asking your group leader, even members within the group. If you have a mentor, ask a mentor. Like all of these people can be incorporated into this process of like, what is the next best thing for me to do? And so by incorporating that and not making that decision just based on what I want to do is a really healthy choice as well.
There is so much out there, too, for facilitators. And I know, when I first started back in 1993, we were using the men's manual. And because we didn't have any female work. So female addiction processes have really come forward a lot, as has like trauma bonding and those kinds of thought processes that go in for females or for the partner who has been betrayed. It's my belief that everyone has had betrayal trauma, especially as a kid, and so sometimes in working with the husbands and so forth, I have a tendency to look at where is their trauma, because it usually involves a betrayal. My parents should have been there. I should have been attuned to. They should have noticed me, or I got in trouble and I should have. Something happened that shouldn't have happened, and that was a betrayal or a rupture to the connection I had, and there was no repair made. So they fall into that cycle of shame where I'm powerless to make a change about who I am. So they have carried forward shame, and dealing with that in your group. So the facilitator of a group should also be prepared emotionally to help really to attune to people, and not just have to move into fixing, what does that person do, but to really go, gosh, that's really tough that you went through that. And that's really what story work, too, is about. It's like, people are a story.
Yeah.
And this year 1 is just part of your journey. And it's part of the story that's going to be written forward. You have a story from the beginning that got messed up, I guess, or wounded. Your soul or your value and your worth and your self-perception got shamed. And now you're in this process of change, and you get to rewrite the rest of the story with God as your author, as a co-author, basically. So that's kind of how I, sometimes paint the picture of moving forward into year 2 and beyond.
Yeah.
I like what you said, Stuart, about being willing to ask your other group members or your group leader what you're ready for, because maybe you feel like, man, I'm going to lead the next group, and they're like, maybe you should slow your roll a little. Like, here's some reasons I think that might be too soon. Or maybe on the flip side, you're like, I don't know, maybe I'll just do group again. But your leader says, man, I see a lot of growth in you, and I think you really would do great at leading a group. I mean, having that perspective from someone else can be very, very helpful.